question I
And then
have
we'll see you in the
is,
East Room.
if the president feels that nothing was wrong with the telephone call, does this administration still think that China and Ukraine should investigate the Bidens?
The president has said to everybody, read the transcript, read the call. He put it out, pretty unprecedented. It means he had to declassify a call with a foreign leader, which by its very nature is classified. And everybody can read that, and I think too many people have read into the call words that aren't there because it fits their own convenience. I don't see the word aid. I don't see the word 2020. I don't see any mention of Joe Biden as his spooky political opponent. That would be foolish. Have you seen this guy? He doesn't know if he's in Iowa or Ohio. He's screaming at Ed O'Keefe, who's a great reporter for CBS News the other day. And he can't even get an endorsement from the president he served in this building for 8 years. It's sort of embarrassing. Do you know last month President Obama put out a list of endorsements, but it was about books and movies, not about any of the Bidens?
Well, I understand, but the question is, should the Bidens be investigated?
I actually think if anybody should be interested in investigating corruption in Ukraine, it's probably the members of Congress who are wasting their time investigating the president instead, and have just whistled right past the fact that Hunter Biden got $83,000 a month. If that's true, it's over $1 million just for a year. His father has no energy, but Hunter had no energy experience.
Can you tell me whether the president whether impeachment played any role in the president's decision to make his remarks today as the first president?
Zero. Zero has to do with impeachment. It has to do with the fact that he's pro-life, and that the march is right outside the door, around the corner. Can't believe. I mean, I can't believe. And I was told that 3 years ago when I went to give a talk, remarks at the March for Life, and Vice President Pence was the first sitting vice president to ever address the March for Life live, in person, on the Mall. I couldn't believe that that was true, and really had to go back and look at it a few times. So to be the first president was very special to this president, but he's been working for the last 3 years on these major gains, including taxpayer dollars. I mean, it's very offensive to many Americans that Planned Parenthood gets $500 million a year in taxpayer money and is the nation's largest abortion provider, turns around and spends millions and millions and millions of dollars on political races. I don't think most people who say Planned Parenthood, oh, gee, that they provide great services, that's a good thing, are aware or would approve of them spending so much money on politicking. They don't provide mammograms. They've lied about that in the past. And there are qualified women's health centers all around this country, far higher in number than Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood clinics, for example, that provide the full suite of services for women, but do not prescribe abortifacients and do not provide abortions. But for this president to go there and give an unequivocal message that he stands for life and the dignity of life and the quality of life and the value of life is pretty remarkable. The impeachment has nothing to do with anything he's doing, because if it did, he wouldn't go to Davos. He wouldn't go to the March for Life. We went to Doral yesterday. We went to Miami yesterday. We're on the way to Wildwood, New Jersey. They've had 120,000 plus RSVPs for a venue that seats 8,000 people. So I know some people are going to say, we've seen all these people, but will they vote? No, they're going to stand in line for 2 days, but they're not going to vote. So he's just going to continue to do what he's doing, barreling through, and he's doing his job as president. I think the real question, Ann, is why is Congress not doing its job? If they had only gotten this excited and this animated and spent this much time on infrastructure, we'd have a package. On drug pricing, it would be lower. On keeping this economy going. There's so much unfinished business by this Congress, and this is the way they choose to spend their time and the taxpayer money. And I have faith in the wisdom of people. They see that.
Update on when and where the president's going to sign USMCA?
No, I can't give you an update on that, but he's excited to sign it.
About this recording that apparently has served an update on the coronavirus, and like the third case, I think there's 2 in France. Is the administration worried that this will spread beyond its?
I can tell you that we are monitoring it, and the CDC, NIH, HHS are all briefing the president and other officials here, and obviously the NSC is involved as well, and that's all I can say right now.
Travel restrictions or anything like that under consideration?
I'm not going to talk about that.
What is the U.S. new plan regarding Afghan peace process with the Taliban? There are so many conflicts.
I can't comment on that today.
Kellyanne, the Brazilian foreign minister just said the U.S. is deporting a group of Brazilians today. How close is Brazil and the U.S. working on immigration issues and these deportations?
Well, we had Mr. Bolsonaro here a few months ago last year, and I know that President Trump and he worked together on any number of issues, as do their deputies, their officials. I haven't discussed that particular issue with the president today, so I'm not going to comment on it. Yes.
You know if President Trump will
Response
travel
to
to
the report from
Brazil?
ABC on the recording that appears to capture President Trump in 2018 saying that he wanted Maria Jovanovic fired after speaking with Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman.
Right, so you should refer to the press secretary's statement on that. She put it out several hours ago. That is the official statement from the White House. And any president, I mean every president, has a right to have whoever they want on their staff, in their cabinet, as an ambassador. So I think that the people are going to lather about that today respectfully, because the Lev Parnas credibility and legitimacy and celebrity was immediate from most of you. And now it's like, oh wait, here's some evidence of that. It's not evidence of that at all. And so the president, I mean, we've always maintained he can have whichever staff, we serve at his pleasure, cabinet, ambassadors that he would like. How that, anything you're describing now is a high crime or misdemeanor, it leads to an impeachable offense and a removal of a democratically elected president 8 months before the next election, is a puzzle to me.
Didn't the president
Is
say
the
he
president
did not
happy with
know
his
Lev
legal team, and
Parnas?
how concerned is he with the ratings?
Is he what?
Is he happy with his legal team,
Yes.
and how concerned is he with the ratings this week and the TV ratings?
What are
He
they?
tweeted about Death Valley being
Oh.
known for Saturday TV ratings.
Well, I don't know that too many people were watching it during the week. Can you? It's sort of unwatchable. I think some of it's unwatchable because, let's face it, well, I saw some of the networks pull down their special coverage because the ratings must not have been there. My own family member informed me that the soap operas on CBS went back on, much to her joy. And I think there was at least another network that I know of that pulled down the special coverage, breathless coverage, because the ratings weren't there.
Is the
So
president
I
hoping
hope.
a lot of people tune in for his legal.
Well, I certainly hope it's not why, and I can't, there he is again. I mean, there's the bad penny, Adam Schiff. I mean, honestly, there he is again. So I hope that they're not doing this for ratings. It sure sounds like some of you may think so. I hope they're not dragging the country through this unnecessarily
the
for
president's the one who
ratings.
tweeted about the ratings this morning, though, and his
I didn't
team
see the
going on
tweet.
Saturday.
But look, it doesn't really matter to me when his team goes, because his team is defending the president, and for the first time, they'll have their say. This is very different than the spectacle that happened in the House. That was an unfair, pre-cooked process of add water and stir by. There he is again, Adam Schiff. He did it there too, and at least we'll have an opportunity to state the case, to argue the facts full bore, and give a full-throated defense of the facts and a great offense. And if people want to tune in, they'll find ways to do that. But it just seems to me many Americans are tuning out. I mean, I'll quote one of your favorites, Mayor Pete Buttigieg. He told Fox News' Pete Ducey this week that he can't, quote, he can't remember the last time a voter asked him about impeachment. He can't remember the last time. Joe Biden's complaining that it's going to help Donald Trump get reelected. So I'll leave it to those people, and I think that everybody knows that field is so weak that they've outsourced their job to beat Donald Trump at the ballot box to the people up in the House. There's no other explanation. If you only send up 2 articles of impeachment, and one says abuse of power and one says obstruction of Congress, there's no extortion, no bribery, no quid pro quo. Nobody seems fluent in Latin anymore up there. There's no Mueller report, Mueller investigation, Mueller testimony in the articles of impeachment as the 2 articles. So if they're that thin, what is taking so long? How many times can you say the same thing over and over and over and over again, expecting that people still want to tune in? And I saw Senator John Barrasso this morning say, sure, some of us lose interest only because you already showed us that tape, that clip 6 times. We saw it. We saw it at the time. We've seen it since, and you just showed it 6 times in 10 hours. We saw it.
So why not
Move
allow
on.
more
Should there be
witnesses?
witnesses? Should there be witnesses?
They'll vote on witnesses. I've answered
Should
that
there
this
be
week.
witnesses?
I answered that in the morning, Gaggles. You got to pull the tape.
I missed
You
it.
said
And you missed them all.
earlier that
No,
something
we're
to the
here now.
effect of how you wish that they would have spent as much time on the Bidens and Hunter Biden.
And I didn't say that, Francesca. I said they should have spent as much time on infrastructure and drug pricing.
No, prior to that.
and
your
other
first
things.
Answer, you had said
I was
something
asked, he asked me something about, do I think Ukraine and China should investigate the Bidens? I answered, if anybody should be interested in investigating the Bidens, it should be the Congress, since they know that Burisma was a corrupt energy company. They know that. The head of it was internationally known as such. They know that. Well, how did we even get to Burisma? Did I choose who sits on the board of Burisma any more than I choose who's running for president on the Democratic side? No and no. but their names were Biden's. So, as you guys like to say, if Hunter Biden has nothing to hide, why doesn't he voluntarily agree to come and testify and explain to the world how his complete lack of qualifications and the not so coincidental fact that his father was vice president with Ukraine in his portfolio and as vice president had visited Ukraine a dozen plus times and then gave his son, still the unqualified son, a ride on Air Force Two that you paid for to China to go get a $1.5 billion. This bothers none of you? So if anybody wants to investigate it, it ought to be the U.S. Congress, or I'll go a step further, the American media. It ought to bother you a little bit more.
So my question was, you do think that Congress should investigate?
I think if they're investigating this, they should investigate all of that. If they're so interested in witnesses, they should call Hunter Biden. The Democrats should call him today. They have nothing to hide. If the Democrats agree with all of you who bend over backwards, trip over yourselves to constantly say, and we should remind our viewers, we should remind our readers, there's no evidence that Joe or Hunter Biden did anything wrong. What's the evidence Donald Trump did?
Well,
Because
you're
Adam
holding
Schiff
that
said
evidence
so?
back, right?
First of all, they said no. First, there is no evidence. First of all,
Why not
they
let
say,
them
we've got a
testify?
mountain of evidence. It's just like collusion. It's hiding in plain sight. We have a mountain of evidence. The evidence is overwhelming. Why do you need more evidence then?
Why
It's so
not let
overwhelming, you
them
need more of
testify?
it? Why should he have to testify?
Is
He
the
said he
administration
would.
holding back
Why should he
any-
have to testify?
Is the administration holding
Anyone
back
else?
any evidence? Kellyanne, the president said in Davos, we have all the material. Is the administration holding back any evidence that might be pertinent to this investigation?
Oh, that was good.
Can
I
you
saw the
answer that,
tweet
Kellyanne?
from when I was
Kellyanne,
talking
that's a
about
good
it.
question.
I didn't hear his question.
Is the administration
I have
holding
to
any
go.
evidence?
Speaking of working, the America's mayors are here, many of them, so we're going to the East Room to do
You're clear.
So is the
a panel
administration
talk with a
holding back
couple of
any
cabinet
evidence?
secretaries, and then the president's
Kellyanne,
making
to say
remarks.
you did not hear my question is blatantly false. That is just false.
No, I wasn't
I think we
listening
all know
to
that you
it.
could hear my
Hey, Jim,
question.
don't ever call me a liar, especially you, but guess what? Guess what?
What did the
I didn't
president
listen to
say
your
when
question.
he
There's a
said-
difference.
what
I
did the
didn't listen
president
to your
say?
question.
No, you said you
I didn't
didn't hear
listen
it.
to your question. Right, I didn't
Well, is
hear
he
it because
withholding
you
any
because
evidence?
you
Not
asked
telling the
it.
truth, Kellyanne.
Is he
Because you
withholding
asked
any
it.
evidence?
He said you don't have all the
It's
evidence.
a
You know, you have some
question.
CNN analysts who lied just this week. You're going to fire them, made up a story, made up a tweet. You're going to fire them?
But-
You work with Andrew McCabe and you're going to lecture me about the truth. You give Jim Comey a platform constantly.
What did the president
Are
say
you?
when he said
You push
you don't
Russia
have all the
collusion
material?
from this building, from this place, the James Brady press briefing room, and from the North Lawn for over 2 years. And you're going to lecture us on the truth? Go look in the mirror. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Kellyanne, nice try.
Where's the collusion?
Is he
Kellyanne,
withholding any
Where's the
evidence?
Oh,
You
where's
heard
the
that question.
conspiracy?
You heard that question.
Where's
I
the
guess.
recession?
Why can't you
Where's
just
the 8
answer the
days of
question?
recession
What
coverage
did
you
the
guys
What
gave?
did the president
The
say?
great
He said
economy.
you don't have all the
I don't
material.
listen to his question.
But it's a simple question.